You know, if you're over 50, there's this one quiet mistake that can totally derail your retirement plans. And what's really wild is that most people have no idea they're even making it. So let's get right into it. So what do you think it is? What is that single biggest mistake? Seriously, take a guess. What do you think is the one thing that can just undo years of hard work?
I bet your first thought is, oh, it's spending too much money, right? And yeah, keeping an eye on your expenses is absolutely crucial, but that's not the silent saboteur we're talking about today.
And surprisingly, it's not even about earning too little. Look, a high income is great, for sure, but we've all heard stories about people with pretty modest salaries who end up retiring just fine. So that's not it either.
Here it is. The biggest mistake is the simple, quiet error of waiting. Just waiting. Waiting for that perfect time to get serious. Waiting until you feel a bit more confident. Or waiting for the markets to be just right. The thing is, after 50, that delay gets really, really expensive. Time is no longer just on your side. It's also starting to work against you.
To really get a grip on how big an impact waiting has, let me tell you a little story. We'll call it the tale of two paths. It perfectly lays out the difference between just letting things happen and actually taking control.
All right, let's set the scene. Imagine two different people. They're both over 50. And to make this a totally fair comparison, they have the exact same amount of money saved up, $250,000. That's a solid amount, right? But their futures are going to look completely different depending on what they do next. And right here, this is the fork in the road. It's all about mindset. The person on the passive path, they feel like they're behind, so they get overwhelmed. They start avoiding looking at their statements. They just cross their fingers and hope for the best. But the person on the proactive path, totally different story. They start asking questions. They shift from just hoping to actually planning. And that one little change in perspective, well, it changes everything. So how do you make sure you're on that proactive path? Well, the good news is it's not some kind of secret formula. It's really about following a pretty straightforward action plan that just builds momentum.
It all boils down to these 3 simple steps. First, you've got to define your number, what you actually need to live the life you want. Second, you need to know where all your income is coming from. And third, you have to make sure your investment strategy actually fits where you are in life right now. This is your roadmap from hoping to actually doing.
Let's just zoom in on step 2 for a second, because this is a real game changer. So many people think retirement income is just one thing, their pile of savings. But it's not. It's a blend. You might have Social Security, maybe a pension, maybe you want to work part-time doing something you actually love. Once you start combining all these different streams, the pressure on your savings goes way, way down. It's about building a portfolio of income, not just staring at a pile of money.
And that brings us to the big balancing act of step 3. Your investment strategy after 50 is like walking a tightrope. If you're too conservative, inflation is just going to silently eat away at your money's value. But if you're too aggressive, a bad market dip could mean you lose money you just don't have time to make back. The whole goal is to find that sweet spot, you know? Smart growth with smart protection. Okay, so the plan seems logical, right? So why do so many really smart people get stuck in that waiting trap? Well, the reason usually isn't financial at all. It's emotional. There's this huge barrier we need to talk about. It's fear. It's that little voice in the back of your head that says, it's too late for me, or I don't have enough to even get started, or the big one, what if I make the wrong choice? These fears feel so real, and they're totally normal, but they lead straight to paralysis. They lead to inaction, which is the exact mistake we're trying to avoid. And this gets to a really powerful truth. See, the fear of making the wrong move often tricks us into making no move at all. But here's the reality check. Doing nothing is a decision. It's a choice. It's the decision to let time and chance control your future. And ironically, that's the biggest risk you can take. So how in the world do you beat that fear and break out of that cycle of waiting? Well, you don't need some huge, perfect 10-year plan by tomorrow. All you need to do is focus on one thing, your first step.
This might be the most freeing idea of all. Just forget about perfection. A perfect plan doesn't exist. It's a myth. What you need is a working plan, something you can start with today, something you can tweak and improve as you go along. It's all about progress, not perfection. Because that's really the fundamental truth, isn't it? Retirement isn't some destination you just passively arrive at one day. It's an active construction project. It's something you have to build, one smart decision at a time. When it's all said and done, the math is incredibly simple. Action beats waiting.
every single time. Even a tiny, imperfect step forward is infinitely better than just standing still. So that really leaves just one question you need to answer. What's your first step going to be?